so inspirational.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining Taz Chris.
Ginger night.
Yes. Quick caveats before we get into it. Our prayers and our positive thoughts go out to the singer, actress, songwriter, MC Brandy Norwood, who reportedly possibly had a seizure overnight and was rushed to the hospital. There are no further details available at this point in time, but as someone who suffers from seizures, and I know how traumatic that first one can be, let's send her all of the positivity that we can.
Yes.
I don't know. Did y'all hear about Mr. Alex Jones today?
Yeah.
We got 2 videos regarding that, and then we're gonna come on back. We're gonna talk about that in detail.
A jury just found Alex Jones responsible for nearly $1 billion with a B dollars in damages against the Sandy Hook families. The jury in aggregate found $965 million in damages spread out a number of families, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 individual parents and family members sued, and each of them got a chunk of that money. It is not clear how much of it they'll see because clearly Jones is going to be declaring bankruptcy. I think he already has. But nonetheless, this is a remarkable verdict. $1 billion.
By now, you've heard it. We already talked about it on my page that Alex Jones was sued for defamation after his claims that Sandy Hook was a hoax. This is the same trial where his attorneys got themselves in hot water after accidentally disclosing confidential materials. So what follows trial is sentencing. On September 22nd, there was a hearing to determine how much money Alex Jones should owe the families of the Sandy Hook shooting victims. After about 4 hours of testimony, Alex Jones began ranting at how the deep state was responsible for this defamation lawsuit and refused to apologize to the victims' families for his statements that this was all made up. His statements triggered a shouting match between him, his lawyer, and the lawyer representing the families. Shouting in a courtroom.
Now, keep in mind, there's a third trial that is coming up. But here's a caveat that I learned before we went live. He can try to file bankruptcy, but here's where he's messed up. He's publicly asked his supporters to send him money because he can file bankruptcy and quote unquote hide their money. No, he can't. That's going to get you in a whole nother boatload of trouble. And all of these judgments, which are 2 thus far, and this last judgment is the one that's knocking on $1 billion door because of the amount of families involved, they're enforceable for up to 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
And when you hear about his outburst in court, it's not because he believes what he's saying. He does this because these aren't criminal trials. Keep in mind, these are civil litigations. These are civil trials. He's talking to the people who follow him. He's talking to the people that even after he admitted that his whole podcast, his whole show, his whole website, everything about it is for entertainment purposes only, that he's an entertainer, which is the same defense that his bromance buddy Tucker Carlson said in court when he was brought before the court. He knows that what he's saying is BS. He's in the grift for the long haul. But like I just said on TikTok before we went live here, there's no amount of grifting that's going to keep him and his new wife within the lifestyle that they've grown accustomed to.
Yeah, he think he can put some money in the pillowcase and nobody will see that. Well, anything that comes into him has to go back out, and Amber Heard will find that out. Yeah, he's just a disgusting individual. You know, profiting off of all those people out there that are part of a whole cult environment that are just hanging on whatever certain individuals say as these are instructions. This is all we know. They told us not to listen to anyone else. We only listen to you. We only listen to what this is what it is. It's keeping them, and that's why Colt 45 keeps traveling around the country having these little rallies. Is to keep the grift. Care less if anyone believes in it or not. It's to keep the thing going, because we know that from Miss Mean Green, that she does the same thing. She's for profit.
And speaking of Miss Mean, soon to no longer be green,
Single green.
she's decided to distract a little bit. And her distraction is laughable. Y'all take a look at this and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is suing Twitter. Why? Because they banned her. She's saying it's a violation of her freedom of speech to be banned off of Twitter. Take a look.
Yes, I've already talked to an attorney. I spoke with him last week, John, because I believe these are it's a complete violation of my freedom of speech. I was a private citizen and I'm owed damages. They have no right to do this to me. I just need to find out how many people I need to name on lawsuits and the social media companies.
Now, I've just been pondering so long, I can't figure it out. How could it be the case that a congresswoman doesn't understand the difference between the First Amendment relating to what the government can and can't do in regard to your speech and a private company choosing to take you off their platform because you violated their terms of service? I was thinking, and then I figured it out, guys. It's because she's dumb.
Yeah, because she's the same party that was okay with private businesses not wanting to make wedding cakes for members of the LGBTQIA plus community.
Mm-hmm.
She's okay with Black and brown people being shot down in the streets or not welcomed in certain establishments. But now she's saying that here's the joke. I talked to a big time attorney. Who referred you to that attorney? Trump? Because it seems only people who will deal with Trump that go against the logic, the legality, and the science behind their professions for all of these weird childlike obsessions.
I'm sure the lawyers she knows have already been disbarred, so who knows?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she talked to Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah. Yeah, we know how that goes. So, yeah, she's about QAnon. She's got the Q in her pocket.
Not IQ, just Q.
No, there's no I with her Q. she a bag of rocks looks smarter. So. Yeah.
And speaking of people who should use a few more brain cells, there seems to be a scandal ahead of the release of Deadpool 3. But there's so many layers to this. As Shrek would say, as Donkey would say, this is a parfait. Let's take a look and come back and talk about it.
Wait, that's not
Okay, so TJ Miller states that Ryan Reynolds hates him, but he wonders why. You may be familiar with TJ Miller, but he plays a character in the Deadpool movies. I want to say his name's like Jeff. But why would Ryan Reynolds hate him? A quick Wikipedia search will tell you why. 2018 Uber assault incident. 2017 sexual assault allegations. Same year transphobic email allegations. 2018 Amtrak bomb threat incident. And the same year work misconduct accusations. It is no surprise why Ryan hates him, but it is also a surprise how this man isn't locked up in prison.
TJ Miller says he'll never work with Ryan Reynolds again. He also said he thinks Blake and Ryan's relationship is curated. Sir, they've been married for 10 years. Do your arms hurt from reaching so hard? During an interview on the Adam Carolla show, the controversial comedian said that he and Ryan were riffing on the set of Deadpool and Ryan took it too far. He also stated that he loves Ryan as a comedian, but he thinks after he got super famous from the first Deadpool, then yeah, things kind of changed. And then called Ryan an insecure dude. It's the backhanded compliments for me. He then went on to say that Blake and Ryan's public image is very curated and that he doesn't wish them any ill will. Curated or not, they have 3 kids and counting, and being married for 10 plus years in Hollywood is an accomplishment in and of itself. Obviously, Ryan and Blake haven't responded. This is giving somebody that like wants to fight with themselves. Where is this coming from? I'm not really surprised though. He doesn't have the greatest reputation. I think the question really is, TJ, would Ryan want to work with you?
And I have an article coming from entertainmentweekly.com. It says Deadpool actor TJ Miller says he'll never work with Ryan Reynolds again. It's weird that he hates me. Now, mind you, most people don't know who TJ is outside of him being the sidekick, and I'm using that loosely, in the Deadpool series.
He was the bar scenes.
Right. And it's like, we're now bringing in Hugh Jackman this franchise, and this is when you want to have controversy, and you say you all were riffing with each other back and forth, but you were doing it on set. How long ago was Deadpool 2? And if you're riffing on set, that means you were riffing in character. So you got roasted by Deadpool, not Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. But let's get into this article. Controversial actor and comedian TJ Miller says he's not interested in returning for Deadpool 3 or working with Ryan Reynolds ever again, even if he were asked to after the pair had a weird moment together on set. See, words mean something. Let me repeat this. Even if he were asked to after. So that means when Deadpool 3 was announced, he was not asked to return. Plus, with the whole addition of Wolverine into the storyline, I read the comics. Deadpool wouldn't be frequenting that bar very much. So, are you trying to force your way into a movie, my guy?
There was no invite.
This ain't how this works. Like, you can't force yourself. But anywho, Miller, who played the blood bartender Weasel in the franchise's first 2 films and has been embroiled in multiple controversies over the years, says he thinks his former co-star hates him and recalled a time when Reynolds allegedly requested another take to belittle Miller in front of the cast and crew. How many times have we heard about people requesting another take to make sure the scene hits the way it's supposed to hit? Like, are you 5? Are you new to this? Are you new here?
I mean, we're talking about Deadpool. I mean, you know how many outtakes and ad libs and certain different angles they probably take on these things?
Yeah, so he says, as a character, he was like horrifically mean to me. But to me, as if I'm Weasel, Miller explained on the Adam Carolla show. He was like, you know what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star, but you just do enough exposition that it's funny. And then we can leave and get back to the real movie.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're quoting an edited out scene from the movie.
Sounds like he thinks he's a bigger role than he was. I mean,
but
he's like a cameo role.
But listen to the line. Because we know Deadpool breaks the 4th wall in the comics and in the movie. He was like, you know what's great about you, Weasel? He did not call him TJ Miller. He didn't call him Miller. You're not the star, but you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get back to the room. That sounds like Deadpool breaking the 4th wall. That sounds like a scene that just didn't make it into Deadpool 2.
Nerd alert.
And if you're going to take that personally, get out of acting. But it seems like you only got into acting so you could get your little Vienna sausage unwillingly into women, TJ Miller.
TJ Miller Roethlisberger.
TJ Miller, Roethlisberger, Watson.
There you go. Deshaun Miller.
Deshaun Roethlisberger. Deshaun TJ Roethlisberger.
That part, yes. Hanging out.
Wait. You've never seen oh Jesus. I've failed as a mother, y'all. I have failed as a mother.
I've been nerd enough.
One of my children has not seen. Oh my God. Friday. Wait a minute. I know you just got a new work schedule. Send me your new work schedule. We about to get on FaceTime. We are going to rectify that. Oh Jesus. Oh my God. Oh, the stress. Oh, the stress and anxiety. Oh, Jesus. If it all, I can hear you, Ginger. I can hear you, Gingerberry.
Yeah.
You this is sacrilege. How did I fail this much in parenting? What or X-Men?
Was there not enough time in the comics one?
Oh my God, we got to get you caught up because you're not going to understand my costume this year if we don't get you caught up on X-Men and Deadpool. Jesus.
X-Men that we're having this year's X-Men.
Lord jeez.
Well, it's either that or I got a costume for the new Blade. I don't. How about that? Guess why?
Why?
Because we're gonna redo it.
Yeah. Yeah, the MCU has had to push a lot of things back.
Yeah, they're acting like Warner Brothers / Discovery.
Yeah, they are. So the timeline that was released just a few months ago.
I'm gonna be in senior living by the time this stuff comes out.
Hey, it's better than what the DCU is doing because the DCU is just, I'm going to cancel this. But they're going to keep all of Ezra Miller's projects.
Ezra Miller has his own projects that we know are going on right now.
Oh, speaking of projects.
He's just flashy. He's just flashy.
Yeah, speaking of projects, someone sent me a very interesting take. A very interesting take on Aladdin. So,
what?
All that I got in the description was interesting take on Aladdin.
Oh boy, here we go.
So we're gonna view this for the first time together, and then we're gonna talk about it. Yes. If I gotta suffer through it, you gotta.
For the first time, you haven't even. Okay.
No, I didn't look at it. I didn't.
Ooh, this first take.
Yeah, yeah.
Just when you think that Disney's for the kids, you remember that Aladdin exists and Jasmine is 14 years old. And Disney wrote a scene not only where Jasmine gets married to a grown man, but also remember when she throws herself at Jafar? Aladdin is the epitome of literally, I'm special because I said I was special. There's nothing special about Aladdin. They're like, oh, he's a diamond in the rough. Literally, the only nice thing that he does is give bread to 2 starving children that he stole. Of course, they get a cut after his monkey does, so he has his priorities in order. So, Jafar wants the lamp. He sends in the diamond in the rough Aladdin, right? Even because he's the only one that can touch it and enter the Cave of Wonders. Even though Abu goes with him, and Abu is not a diamond in the rough. Abu is bad. Which means to me that Iago could have easily flew in there and grabbed the lamp. I don't see what the problem is. But why would you even want that lamp? That genie is crooked. There's something up there. Here's the thing. Despite some shenanigans, Aladdin's first wish to Genie is, I wish you make me a prince. And Genie supposedly did this, right? We all know the song, Prince Ali, da, 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 I am a prince now. But then why does Genie spend the rest of the movie telling Aladdin to tell Jasmine he's not really a prince? Well, I wished it, so it's true now. Even if I wasn't rich beforehand, if I wish to be rich, I am now rich, right? So some people would argue that the point of all that is like you're supposed to be yourself and not, rely on status or things that other people got for you, right? But he takes Jasmine out on the magic carpet ride that he got from the genie. So it's not making any sense. Aladdin gets himself in some trouble and the genie's like, "Oh, I can't save you unless you wish for it." But that's bullshit. It's not even true. He does it anyway. Blah blah blah. Fast forward, you all seen Disney, right? End of the movie, they're like, "Well, Aladdin, if you really wanted to marry Jasmine, this 14-year-old girl, you could wish to be a prince for real this time, even though you already did and I didn't do it for some reason." But he's like, "No, Genie, I wish you to be free." And it's like, okay, cool. Well, now I'm free to use my magic, whatever. I can make you a prince if you want. I could do that. I'm not. Luckily, the Sultan says that Aladdin, who's like 20-something, can marry 14-year-old Jasmine anyway, and we all cheer, right? But besides all that, Jasmine has to get married for the next ruler, the next sultan of Agrabah, right? But here's the deal. She's like going out and about with the townsfolk in disguise, and they're like, "You have to pay for that food." And she's like, "Pay?" She's about to run the whole country. She has no idea what money is. So, to recap, Jasmine is a minor, Genie is a fraud, Jafar is a dirty old man, and Aladdin is worthless. I still love the movie though. One jump ahead of the TikTok, add me, stay on board.
Okay, so there's this guy on Instagram who said he was a prince and wished for massages. And
Well, he was on Instagram wishing for massages.
yeah, claiming, want to see my genie lamp.
You want to see my cheese coney, no onions?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, your take? Okay, that's a no. So, anyways, I'm pro Little Mermaid. Okay.
Look at this. The Celtics have an affair scandal. There we go.
The Boston Celtics employee who had an affair with head coach Ime Udoka has been revealed 2 weeks after their relationship was exposed. Coach Udoka was suspended from the Celtics on September 22nd after it was revealed he was having an affair with a member of staff. However, her identity was never made public. But today, Daily Mail revealed the woman is 34-year-old team service manager Kathleen Nemo Lynch, a married mother of 3 whose identity was posted online. She served as the team's liaison, arranging travel, lodging, game tickets for the team's family. So it's very likely she could have made arrangements for Udoka's fiancé, actress Nia Long. A source told DailyMail.com that the affair was short and consensual and was over by the time investigators were involved. However, it was still very inappropriate nonetheless. Team's executive director, Danny Ainge, who actually has close ties to Lynch and helped her land the job, said he was, quote, deeply disappointed by the affair, especially given the fact that they both have families. Udoka, who's been engaged to Nia Long since 2015, was suspended for the remainder of the 2022-2023 season.
Okay, first of all, ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary people, can we stop falling for the okey doke of having 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 25-year engagements?
There you go. That part, I was just about to say that.
It does not take that long to plan a wedding. Because my aunt got engaged earlier this year. Her and her now husband decided, hey, this is what we wanted. They looked at their finances. They put together a budget. They said, okay, we can make it happen by this date. They wanted to be married to each other so much, they made that date. Now, it was wonderful. It was beautiful. It was not traditional at all. And y'all know I am here for it. When people don't do tradition and they just put their personalities into it. But how you got hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions between the two of y'all, and y'all got to be engaged for years? Also, the woman that he cheated with, let me put in this caveat. She's Mormon. Now, if you know the regular, degular, schmegular rules of Mormonism, you understand how egregious this is. But let me put in this historical context. Do you know me as a Black person, the only way I can join the Mormon church is to be sponsored? I'm using this word very loosely because I'm not trying to get a community guidelines violation on YouTube and get shut down tonight. You have to be sponsored by a white family who tells you the do's and don'ts of what you cannot do as a person within the Church of Mormonism. You know, a church that was started by an abusive, pseudo polygamist pedophile. Y'all got rules?
Yeah, there's a reason that they're sitting in Utah. Even
This is
though
the same church that sends their young ladies to Brigham Young University not to get a degree, but to get a husband.
I know there are people of color who are Mormons, but the history tells you that a whole lot of racism from day one.
Oh, there are people of color that are the property of Mormon parishioners. Let's call a spade a spade.
There's no privilege for them. Yes.
You can't just do what you want to do as a non-white person within the Mormon church. When I say you have to be, this is not a short-term sponsorship. This is like, I've belonged to organizations. Like, there was a performing arts school that I originally went to. Now, they gave you big brothers and big sisters at that time. My big sister wasn't shit. I'm gonna tell you, she wasn't shit. She didn't help me with a goddamn thing. The only thing that she helped me with was almost getting jumped because her ass wasn't shit. They were supposed to teach us the ropes, you know, how to properly audition for things, how to navigate through the school. She did none of that for me. Okay. One Valentine's Day, I got a little bullshit. You know how they do the Valentine's Day grams at the schools. It was bullshit. Okay. She got me the cheapest one possible. And before y'all got, she was a teenager. You can't, I expected her to put in the work that she volunteered for. I was put into the program because I was a new student. This was not something I had any power as to whether I could sign up for or not. She signed up. It's the same. It's not like that in the Mormon church. Like, oh, you just have this person for a couple months or a year, and once you teach them the ropes, you can go away. No, this is lifelong. Them having dominion over these people of color, specifically Black people. Like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. Blah, blah, blah. Why do you not see Black people that are polygamists, but you have whole shows over whole networks? And even when the shows depict, honestly, the abuse that happens in these pseudo polygamist, polyamorous relationships, they're all white. But they're proud to say that they're Mormon and no one criticizes it. Yeah, sister wives, I'm talking about you.
They also get to select when they go on their missions where they go. And it's very strategic where they go.
And they always seem to go to the exact same places, take the exact same pictures with the exact same people, with the exact same gifts. And it's been documented that they will gift these children things and then take it back to them and just mentally obliterate these children. But my thing is, why do you need to have missionary trips? You want people to respect your religion. So why are you impeding upon other people's religion? Oh, and before y'all go, but Taz, aren't you a preacher's kid? Exactly. I respect everybody's religion because I want people to respect the religion of my father. And yes, I said what I said.
Well, it's kind of the way that I look at that organization that Mr. Cruz belongs to. the organization. It's not, they're not recognized. So yeah, um, yeah. Nicole Kidman said, "I am out of here, and I'm not looking back."
I'm just saying, there's one of those Scientology establishments around the corner and up the street from me.
Miss Remini knows.
All I can say is y'all steer clear. And
Yes.
if you all want on another episode, I can go into detail. But in my 20s, I ran across a woman, a black woman, whose mother decided to join that church.
Ooh. Oh my goodness.
The insight that I got in the plight and the fight that this woman had.
Hmm.
Yes,
First of all, you got to have money. They want people with money.
well, Leah Remini does a great job
yes.
of giving you information from her perspective in her experience, and I commend her for that. But everything that you see happening to people who look like Leah Remini,
Mm-hmm.
it's 100 times worse if you have melanin. And like I said, at this point, I didn't realize how big the Church of Scientology was when I was working with this woman and she was telling me her woes and she was missing work to go do stuff. I did not understand how big this church was. It was about 5 to 6 years later after I had left that position and we started finding out that there were people in Hollywood involved in this church and where it originated from. I'm talking about this was like at the origins before it was like making the rounds on the news and everything else. This woman's mother was made to sell all of her possessions
Mm-hmm.
and stay in a dorm and work for the
Mm-hmm.
church.
Mm-hmm. Or so
And
they
when I
call
say work for the church, I'm not saying as a teacher of the gospel,
it.
working for a business of like she was scrubbing the floors of
Yeah.
other dorm rooms
Mm-hmm.
of other people, and they were paying her below prison wages. So then her family owed the church money,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
or she would be homeless, but they couldn't come pick her up. Like it was a weird catch 22 that everybody was in. And when her
Mm-hmm.
daughter, the young lady that I worked with, was trying to figure out where her mother was to go get her, finally, before I left the company, she finally uncovered that her mother was like 12 states away,
Mm-hmm.
like nowhere near family or it, like nowhere anybody would look for her.
Well, that's part
Like
of the
in the
separation.
smallest town, they could find to stick this woman.
Well, a lot of them have separation tactics when it comes to family and all that
Yep.
because they just don't want that. They want your money because they'll have you take out loans. They'll have you drain your bank accounts. They'll have you
And this
match.
woman's mother was like, "Hey, I only made this amount. I need this for rent." And the way her mother was talking was like she was still in the same city, same state. So the daughter was like, "Oh, crap, if I drive around the city on my off day, I'll catch my mother. Like, I got
Mm-hmm.
to see her out getting supply." She had no idea her mother was that far
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that use it.
Did any of you all know that Keanu Reeves was supposed to make his television debut this year? Because I didn't. But it's not about to happen. Coming from people.com, Keanu Reeves exits Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio's Devil in the White City Hulu series. 2 months after his first U.S. television starring role was announced, Keanu Reeves has exited Martin Scorsese and Leo DiCaprio's Hulu adaptation of Devil in a White City. Keanu Reeves' dabble on the small screen was short lived. The Matrix star, 58, has exited his role in Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio's Devil in the White City series at Hulu. Entertainment Weekly reports just 2 months after his casting was announced as an architect and urban planner, David H. Burnham. Let me
Right.
explain to y'all the probability of why he backed out. Do y'all know who David H. Burnham is? Maybe you know him better under this name, H. Holmes, the
Ah,
original documented first serial killer
serial killer.
of the United States.
Yes.
Now, I'm choosing my words wisely. Of the United States. We're not going back to the 13 colonies. We're not going back before. Of the United States. And I don't think that they told Keanu who he would be playing, because Keanu Reeves is the same person that takes great stance to never put his hands on a woman, even in a picture.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is the same person who chooses his roles very methodically, because you've never seen him portray certain people or certain types of characters.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
He truly believes in his craft and his ability, but he also believes that not all money is good money.
Right.
And
And
my thing
there's,
is, Leonardo, instead of chasing after your next 20 something, why don't you take the role? If it's so
there's
ambiguous and
there's
it's
there's
not.
some people that have H. Holmes linked to Jack the Ripper.
I'm glad you brought up Jack the Ripper, because I got some confirmation here lately on my Jack the Ripper theory that I've shared for years. Let's take a look.
Here
Because
we
this
go.
is hands down my favorite Jack the Ripper theory.
Hey, mine too. Now I hope you don't mind me stitching your video to add to the conversation a little bit. And for those of you watching, it's a stitched video. Go check out the original. It's worth your time. In particular, what I would like to expand upon is what you touched on towards the end there, which was the sexism of Victorian London that we have somehow carried over into the modern age, and assuming that a woman could not have committed these heinous crimes. What's often lost to history is that there was a rash of female killers in and around London at that time. Britain's first convicted serial killer was a woman. Her name was Mary Ann Cotton, and she was presumed to have killed over 20 people. But of the female killers active in and around London at this time, the most notorious of these were the baby farmers, who would adopt children that were unwanted for a fee and then just let the kids die or actively kill them. So the idea that a midwife that was active in the poorest sections of London, who sees all the horrors that a child who's brought into this world has to endure, might decide to cut it off at the source and not allow another working woman of the night to bring a child into this world? Compelling.
Now, I do differ in the premise behind the killings. I don't think that it was some benevolent cause, but I do believe that it was a midwife, because you all have to realize at that time, midwives are not like the midwives you see today that clean themselves up, have a second set of clothing, come with the N95 mask and everything to put over them. They were soaked in blood and nobody questioned them as they were walking home, because we know giving birth, especially naturally, because what other choice did you have at that time, was going to be messy. So you could violently murder someone as a woman because of long-standing global patriarchy and walk past the cops and walk home unscathed. They dubbed this killer Jack the Ripper, where I really think it was Jessica the Ripper.
It was Jack the Ripper's burger.
Because if it was truly a man, how was he not caught? Because there were survivors that couldn't identify anyone, because there was another murder that night and this person tried to double up. That's when you had survivors. So you had people who were exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And people keep going, oh, well, no, ladies of the night. You're looking at things from today's time.
Mm-hmm.
You're not looking at how things went at that time. You're talking about somebody who's exhausted, somebody that would take one or two people a night because disease.
Well, plus in that area, remember, there's back then cities had very distinct districts usually.
Mm-hmm. And you're looking at somebody who's also having sex with mariners who were known to have sex with animals. So they tried to limit their partners in a night to make money because they didn't want to start another pandemic or another epidemic. Christopher Columbus. Because when they were fulfilling their mermaid fantasies, they were really banging out walruses, manatees, donkeys, goats, you name it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting.
But we also,
Well, I know when the movie came out, and they went the angle of a mason, of somebody that was skilled in cutlery, in knife work, and someone that had maybe some medical background. And there's
but the
always
people
the
who had the
theories
most,
of. Yeah.
but the people who had the most medical background at the time, if we're going to be honest, when it came to women, were the midwives. Because even up to, because past the Jack the Ripper stage, when people try to, remember when Roe v. Wade was overturned, and there were so many conservatives going, well, if it's your right, it would have been put in the Constitution. They didn't at the time look at anything that had to do with women, women's issues, as something they needed to dictate over. They didn't care. They weren't looking at it.
Right. Well.
They weren't regulating it. They weren't overseeing it.
Right.
Even years past Jack the Ripper, when we had our Constitution written, they still didn't quantitate women, amongst others, as human beings and worthy of notating. But who was taking care of women? Other women. Because when it came down to a male doctor taking care of a woman, they just gave us lobotomies and stuck us in an asylum. That's why one of the greatest doctors within the United States during this period of time, nobody knew until his death that he was a woman. And people were wondering, like, how does he have such great bedside manner? How is he solving all of these issues that we have? It was your woman.
So it could possibly have been Dr. Quinzel. You never know.
You never know.
Debate all that. We could debate it all.
But
we could bring in the DC and MCU.
Oh, we're gonna bring the MCU back in.
Not
Now,
Storm
y'all know
or Phoenix.
there's a new Captain America coming out because we have Sam Wilson making his debut as Captain America, coming straight from the comic books. But there's some interesting reveals that people are discussing online. Let's take a look and let's talk about it on the other side.
Okay, we got to talk about Captain America: A New World Order, because based on the casting announcements that we got, it could get juicy. Well, first and foremost, it was confirmed that Julius Onah is going to be directing Captain America: New World Order, which will star Anthony Mackie as our new Captain America, Sam Wilson. I'm going to need everyone to give this man a goddamn salute. The biggest piece of news is that Tim Blake Nelson is going to be reprising his role as Samuel Stearns, aka the leader, and be the main villain of Captain America: New World Order, which we've heard rumors of him appearing in She-Hulk, which all but confirms to me that he's the Wrecking Crew's boss. For those of you that don't know, the leader is mainly a Hulk villain, and in my opinion, he has the potential to be an Avengers level threat. So to hear him coming back has got me so excited because it means we're going to get some Hulk shenanigans along with some Super Soldier shenanigans. Because Carl Lumley's Isaiah Bradley is set to reprise his role, which I think is obviously setting up Elijah Bradley becoming Patriot, but that's not all because we got Shira Haas Cass as Sabra, who is an Israeli superhero and also a mutant. She has a superpower that allows her to transfer other low-level superpowers to other individuals. Now I'm curious if she's actually going to be a mutant in the MCU, but one thing's for sure, I think she'll be the main plot device in the film.
My thing is, if they tie in She-Hulk into this movie, the infinite possibilities that we will have, including another evolution of Hulk himself, if they pull that in, we will have another evolution of the Hulk. Not only She-Hulk. Now, hopefully they won't go to the comic incest version of the She-Hulk Hulk dynamic. And for those of y'all that are not clear, there is a universe where She-Hulk and Hulk get together and have like double digits amount of kids. I'm hoping they don't go there. But if you're watching the She-Hulk show, and
The
not being
Targaryens.
a full douche canoe about it. Yeah, this could work. This could be interesting, and this could give some more layers. This
In another universe, the Targaryen Hulks would do that. For those
yeah,
that know what I'm talking about, you would know.
yeah, they nasty in the Hulk realm.
Yeah, that's that old country style. Country
That ain't
style.
country style. Mm-mm. That's colonizers colonizing. That's nasty. Because the doctor, and I'm using that very loosely, Prager, uh, came out within the last 24 hours and was like, well, if an adult brother and sister want to have relations, it's okay because they can't have mentally fucked children because that takes generations. Okay, monarchy. Like you're saying that you're fervently anti-LGBTQIA plus, but you okay with a mother and son banging it out, a father and daughter
Okay,
banging it
Mister.
out, and
Okay,
brothers and
Mister
sisters
Jeffs.
banging it out.
Okay, young Warren Jeffs.
That's nasty.
Yeah.
Oh, real quick, we do have to have some political talk because
Oh,
JD Vance, who tried to make it over here in Kentucky and couldn't do
Commonwealth.
that, decided to hop, skip, and jump his ass over to Ohio. Oh, and
Ooh.
Merriam-Webster, please stop lying to people about the difference between a commonwealth and a state, saying it's the same thing. They just decided to change the name because you have people moving into commonwealths realizing, excuse me, that they don't have to, not realizing that they have to pay car taxes every year. We're in a state, once you buy your car and pay the tax on it, you don't do that anymore. Like there's so many things that are different in a commonwealth. Stop lying to folks. Stop having people move into these commonwealth thinking that it's the same. It is not. But like I said, let's jump
Yeah,
into
just like Virginia.
this JD Vance bullshtickery. Here we go.
On the stage, Donald Trump said to J.D. Vance, all you do is kiss my ass to get my support. After Trump took J.D. Vance's dignity from him on the stage in Youngstown, J.D. Vance got back up on stage and started shaking his hand, taking pictures, saying, hey, aren't we having a great time here tonight? I don't know anybody I grew up with, I don't know anybody I went to high school with that would allow somebody to take their dignity like that and then get back up on stage. We need leaders who have courage to take on their own party. And I've proven that, and he was called an ass kisser by the former president.
Hi, y'all. Alex Flood here.
State Representative Attica Scott here.
Right on. As Kentuckians, we feel a small sense of responsibility to warn y'all, the good people of Ohio, about a very bad man on your ballot. See, J.D. Vance has exploited, insulted, and demeaned my great state for far too long. And I don't want him doing the same thing to you. You see, recently he and his Silicon Valley bros conducted a plan that was going to quote unquote save the region with some fancy pants hydroponic tomato plants and calling them app harvest. And it turns out the dude can't even grow tomatoes in Kentucky. And I don't want to put too fine a point of it, but it's pretty hard to not be able to grow tomatoes in Kentucky. It's like trying to not get wet in a rainstorm. And while he did not bring the wealth and prosperity and jobs to Kentucky that he had promised, he did get paid, and he laughed all the way to the bank because that's what grifters do. I hope you'll see through his tricks and his lies and vote for Tim Ryan for U.S. Senate this go around because J.D. Vance is rotten to the core.
Y'all. And I grew up in and live in West Louisville, where we have some of the worst air and soil quality in the city and likely in the state. Our neighborhood community garden is overflowing with tomatoes, so much so that we can't even move them fast enough. That J.D. Vance and his tomato app harvest drifted off of eastern Kentucky with empty promises and then left our Appalachian neighbors out to dry should tell you that someone who can't even grow tomatoes in Kentucky is certainly not someone who deserves to represent Ohio in DC. I recently ran for Congress in Kentucky after serving on Louisville Metro Council and serving in our state legislature. And I can tell you, I only felt prepared for the responsibility that it means to represent people who've been systematically oppressed after all of that experience. And yet, this dude thinks he's ready to represent after a crummy book and some rotten tomatoes? I think not. No.
JD Vance is rotten, y'all. He's rotten. I'm gonna eat a tomato.
And keep this in mind, he ran on this whole tomato thing in the midst of Breonna Taylor, in the midst of Nicholasville, and specifically Jessamine County being extremely racist. Chris, you know this because I talked to you about this. I had a friend, a really good friend that lived in Jessamine County that was a little bit head in the sand and asked me to come bring them some stuff that I could only get in the city and the county that I was living at that time. I stopped at a Wendy's. You remember the story, Chris? And I was literally just sitting down eating my food because I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat. The roads between Jessamine County and where I lived at the time were very windy, didn't really have overhead lights. So I knew I needed to pay attention. So this was not a situation of, oh, I can jump on the highway and eat as I go. And I had a family, a mother and father in front of their small children, and I mean not even school age yet children, come up and approach me and tell me where I didn't belong. That I was ghetto, that I was bringing down their property value by spending my money in a restaurant and quietly sitting and eating.
You know where you were.
This is where this man originally tried to run. And with his racist platform, because yes, he was thoroughly emasculated and embarrassed by Trump at that rally. But even with his uber racist platform, he couldn't win that county. He couldn't win that city.
He's just dumb Vance.
Like, do you realize Marjorie Taylor Greene were the vast majority of the people she represents don't want her there, and they've tried to unseat her. But she keeps finagling things where she keeps getting elected. Lauren Boebert, news stations. Last week, I reported on this.
She's in trouble out
There
there.
was a reporter that came out and said, hey, Lauren Boebert isn't shit. Why are we not talking about this in Colorado? Like, they're fed up. Even they keep getting reelected. J.D. Vance couldn't go into good old boy territory. Like, he was a hop, skip, and a jump. A hop, skip, and a jump from the most notable territory in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. If y'all know about the greatest rivalry within the United States, then you know what I'm talking about. If you know about the Hatfields and the McCoys, like, you're talking about a place where you can stand in the middle of the street and be like, I hate black people. And people are like, well, take my money. Continue to hate black people. How do you not win there?
Right. In the where Jim Crow is still alive.
Alive, kicking, tap dancing, doing shows, doing tours, opening county fairs. And this is why I say we need to tighten up on regulations. See, they say that, oh, you're trying to take away my Constitution. No, they're knowledgeable about the Constitution when they can find gray areas. Because trust and believe, if I or Stacey Abrams or Maxine Waters or AOC decided to just, oh, there's an election 90 days out, let me up and move and throw my hat in the ring, they wouldn't allow it. But they allow it for them. There's no way I can represent a community that I just moved into. I don't know how anything in this community works. And that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene did to get elected.
Yeah. Why don't they get an earful from Miss Warren, Elizabeth Warren?
Oh, and Sean Hannity, what you thought you were doing, I don't know who stole that voicemail, because I don't believe Hunter Biden released it. I know for a fact Joe Biden didn't release it. But Joe Biden leaving a heartfelt plea to his son saying, hey, I love you. I know you're battling with addiction and you don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to fix this, but we can figure this out together. And you trying to demonize him for having compassion for his son. But all you have regarding Trump is him demonizing his own children, not acknowledging certain children, admitting that he had no hand in raising his children isn't the flex that you wanted. Because guess what? What you forgot is to do the research on demographics. And nope, I'm not shitting on anybody. I'm not condemning anybody. I'm just because I've been a person, I've done shows on addictions with recovering addicts. And a lot of them move from the right to the left because they were put under such duress to fake it, to never make it, because they were on the right. So do you know how many people you just took away from your broadcast, Sean Hannity? Do you know how many people you just took away from your network? Do you know how many people are no longer going to vote red? Like, y'all keep fucking this up from the rooter to the tutor. Between Roe v. Wade, coming after drag queens, when you know the vast majority of your party is undercover like a motherfucker. And now this. But final thoughts on the night, Chris?
Wow. Okay. Final thought is a reminder for everybody. Tomorrow, Jan 6th, hearing, and tomorrow evening is the recap. If anyone cares to view that, which I know I will because I'll be at work. Even though I might try to see if my laptop might just so happen to catch a little bit of that noon telecast.
I'll be giving you updates throughout the day.
I'll be seeing a little bit of live stuff. I can just distract my boss a little bit. But I will be doing a recap. Very important. This is the last one. I'm curious to see what we'll get out of whether it's a Secret Service or some of this anything new that's coming up. Other than them just going and doing a recap and doing a whole bundling this all up with a bow tie. Should be interesting. Outside of that, I won't be on the show for 2 weeks because I'll be out of town. So Ginger will not be around next week.
Well, we won't have a show next week because I'll also be out.
Yeah.
It's that time of.
So y'all get a break from Ginger.
Yeah, it's that time of the year that both of us travel, and I have some familial obligations at this time of year. I have to, yeah. So.
Well, I'll be going to a good thing. My big sister's getting married again. Happy for her. Heading out west, catch her wedding. Wouldn't be a wedding without having a Ginger in there, so need to appear, of course. But yeah, I'm definitely curious
and
about.
I will be off to honor the late great Prince with the head of the Prince fan club. So that's where I will be.
Other than that, that's kind of all I got for tonight.
Also, just to add into January 6th, okay, first of all, Brittany, I gotta come see you too. So you gotta approve. I gotta do that. Plus, Mama's getting paid for this. So this is paying for my trip to come see you. Jesus Christ. You know what? My children's. But let's not forget that there are over 1,000 pages of emails from the Secret Service that they're going to be going through tomorrow. And there's a new caveat. The official moving crew that was supposed to be moving what Trump could take from the White House, even though we got to see on live TV people just walking out with items from the White House. So I'm waiting for those people.
We got other stuff. We got other
prosecuted. Also, that original moving crew that had already been vetted was canceled last moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why the transfer of power took so long, the woman that was in charge of that was also in charge of the moving. And everything that was boxed up, she knows that what was boxed up. So she's going to be drug in front of this tomorrow also. So like I said, tomorrow periodically between Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, I'm going to try to go live to get you all updates. I'm sorry that I have not had any shows this week before this show, but like I
But you
told
know what Wednesday brings you all?
Yeah,
we
but
know what Wednesday brings you all joy. We bring you joy on Wednesdays.
And my health has not been the best, but I'm working on getting that together. I am going to try between tomorrow and this weekend to get you all the update on the Espionage Act, because some new stuff has happened with Edward Snowden that actually falls under the Espionage Act, and that history that I was giving you all. Just be patient with me. I am only human, and I'm learning that I cannot keep pushing myself the way that I used to. Because this week on Monday, how my health took a toll, the damage it did to my youngest son and his girlfriend, I don't ever want that to happen again. So just be patient and bear with me, and I'm going to take things one day at a time. And if I can't do it, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to keep pushing myself because there's only one me. And when I'm gone, I'm gone. And I don't want people going, oh my God, she should have just told me she needed a day off on this day. No, I'm going to be that person that's going to tell you, hey, I need a day off on this day so that I can have another day. So I hope y'all understand that. If you don't, then you don't need to be subscribed to me on anything.
But we know your love for research is woo.
Yep, it is. And even with me being down for the count, I still did some research and went down some rabbit holes that I don't think I should have went down. Cause I learned some information that I don't think I should have. I don't think I should have learned that information.
Wrong rabbit hole.
Now I know the information and I don't really know what to do with it. So it is what it is. And for those of you all that are still asking about my original book, I am still working on that piece by piece. I've kind of put it on the back shelf and started working on another book. And I think that you all are going to like the book that I'm putting in the forefront a lot more right now, because I think it speaks to everyone, regardless of your gender, regardless of your placement in life. Because I believe that if you have a good heart, I think all of us go through some of the same things. That's the only nugget I'm going to give you. But as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. And just so y'all know, Anna Delvey is out and about in New York right now.
Oh, yes. Forgot to bring that up. It happened earlier in the week. Yes.
So we're gonna let this lay.
Still cashing in. This girl knows how to make money.
I've got some feelers from my people in the New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut area. So when we come back in 2 weeks, we gonna get all the way into it because she's starting to get spicy. But I want to see just how spicy
The
she gets.
opposite of Amber Heard.
Well, Amber Heard is allegedly.
Her spicy is from something she ate. Taco
Yeah,
Bell
but
coming.
no, Amber Heard is allegedly in cahoots with a Spanish furniture designer and smuggling drugs in and out of the country and making profit off of that because she can't. But
All right.
as always, y'all, each one teach one, each one reach one. Whoops. Here we go.
So you're probably not going to believe this, but it's true. You can look it up. Everything we've been taught to know about the Boston Tea Party is based on a lie. And the truth of what actually happened is such a beautiful metaphor for what the United States of America really is. Contrary to popular belief, the participants in the Boston Tea Party were not protesting an increase in the taxes on tea. In fact, they were protesting a decrease in those taxes. So here's what really happened. The British Crown had been propping up a company called the East India Trading Company, who many of you will recognize as the bad guys in the Pirates of the Caribbean series. The East India Company had been given monopoly power by the British government and had become too big to fail, but it was failing nonetheless. So the British government decided to lower the taxes on tea in order to help the company out by increasing its profits in the tea trade. And while the Crown was wrong in doing this, that's not the reason that Americans protested. So why did they protest? Well, the first thing to understand is that most Americans didn't. Lowering taxes on tea was fairly popular in America. Even George Washington condemned the Boston Tea Party protest. But the tax reduction really hurt a small group of wealthy businessmen in Boston who had been making an insane profit off of smuggling tea into the city and selling it at reduced prices. And so they organized a protest, not protesting more taxation without representation, but merely protesting the principle that the British government is making decisions on their taxes without consulting them. Which is a perfectly valid reason to protest. However, it's kind of hard to give these businessmen the moral high ground here, considering that there were plenty of opportunities to protest British policies that hurt the average American, but they only chose to do so when it affected their bottom line. And they really need to teach this accurate version of American history in schools because I cannot think of a better metaphor for American politics. A group of wealthy businessmen getting together and using principles of freedom to convince the American people to oppose a government policy that is good for them just in order to line their own pockets with more profits.